There comes a point in everyone's life where we need to let go. Maybe you're grieving the death of a loved one, going through a breakup, or moving out of the house you've always lived in. Whatever it may be, the steady rhythm of life gets interrupted, and we're supposed to move on. The unceasing march of time stops for no one. Because of this, our response to these upsets has the power to determine the rest of our lives for better or worse. Do we chain ourselves to the sorrow and remain stagnant? Or do we address the pain, grow from it, and let it go? The fond sentiment towards people and places in our lives makes it very difficult to just turn our backs and walk away. A ghost story, written and directed by David Lowery, dances with the passing of time and how it affects our ability to let go. At the center of the film lies a relationship between a husband and a wife, unnamed except for the letters M and C in the credits. One day, unheard and unseen, C dies in a car crash just outside the couple's home. The rest of the film follows C after his death, returning as a white bedsheet ghost with 2 black holes for eyes.
And I just love the idea of taking that iconography and that image and playing it incredibly straight and very seriously. Because it's a very goofy image. It's breaking from the norm in terms of how we tell the story and the tools we use to tell it.
Denying the option to move on to the afterlife, he returns to his home where his wife M is grieving his death. He observes her, separated by the chasm of death and bound within the confines of those 4 walls. Silent and still, he holds fast to the woman he loves, even though their last glances and final words have already been shared. This home where they took on the struggles of life together, now the confines of stinging nostalgia and unfulfilled longing. He can't let them go. Not yet. In his spectral state, the ghost interacts with time very differently. He watches days fly by as if they were seconds, his wife slipping away day by day out of his control. Time's dutiful fulfillment of its purpose ever persisting. This temporal discrepancy is even infused into the frame rate of certain shots. In scenes where the ghost is in the same frame as another person, the human is shot in 24 frames per second, while the ghost is shot in 33 frames per second. When the clips are then composited together, the ghost dons a subtle ethereal quality, a sort of subliminal phantasmal effect done through a technical decision. This creative technique perpetuates the feeling that the 2 beings, ghost and man, aren't affected by time in the same way. Before moving out of the house, M leaves a small note in a crack of the molding, sealing it in paint.
When I was little and we used to move all the time, I would write these notes and I would fold them up really small and I would hide them in different places so that if I ever wanted to go back, there'd be a piece of me there waiting.
Did you ever go back?
No.
The chapter of this house has concluded, and the burning memories of her husband are relinquished with it. She has released herself. When nothing can be done to bring things back to the way they were, there's freedom in letting go. Seeing this event take place, C finds a purpose in finding and reading the note. He begins to slowly chip away at the paint with his cloth-covered hands, hoping to read the words his wife left, her final contribution to the chapter of their life together. However, before he can make much progress, he's swiftly interrupted by a family occupying the home years in the future. He drives them out belligerently and propels further into the future where the house is being used for a party. Here, one particular conversation takes the spotlight, spearheaded by a man credited only as prognosticator, meaning one who predicts future events. The monologue that ensues lays out a very nihilistic outlook on life, which really captures the attitude of the film. The man remarks on humanity's plight to be remembered and our desire to leave a lasting impact on the world. Anything to make it so this blip in time that is our lives isn't for nothing. We do the best we can, but at the end of it all, everyone dies. He argues that since the universe will implode and come to nothing anyways, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Just remember that it doesn't matter. Personally, I find that a rather uninspiring perspective which emphasizes a need for God.
So no money, and what have you got left? You got other people. You got Clara. You got time. Time's a big one, but you've got about as much as anyone else, give or take. What about God? Maybe you've got God, do you?
What, have God?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
The group discusses some of the core reasons as to why we do anything. Maybe it's for other people. Well, a life founded on the opinions of others is unstable and emotionally driven. So maybe we live for the sake of time. But this doesn't take you very far because we're all given roughly the same amount of time, then we die just the same. Where's the hope and fulfillment in that? Last, the man suggests God, the only reason to live that would truly provide purpose, yet it's quickly denied. It's only in the absence of God that this nihilistic worldview becomes attractive. In living for nothing, we're left pining for pleasure in a world of insignificance. Nothing matters, so just enjoy life. Your core reason to live and breathe and move becomes to serve your own desires, and I guarantee that doesn't get you very far. But in living for something greater than this world, our actions have eternal ramifications, and we have hope. In both the presence and absence of God, the key takeaway of this scene remains the same. Make the most of the time you have because it's fleeting. The only difference is which master you serve, yourself or God, and that really makes all the difference. What I love about this scene is that it's an all-inclusive snapshot of this belief system, and it solidifies the tone of the film. The conversation is just a few regular people trying to figure out what their lives mean. Underneath the discussion lies the question, and what do you think? The film isn't telling you to agree with this message. After all, it's being presented by the guy at the party most people find obnoxious, and clearly he's still trying to make sense of his own thoughts. In an interview with The Verge, Lowry said, "I feel that what he's laying forth is 2/3 of a pretty good argument, and I feel he stopped short of something that would be truly meaningful. While we never spell it out for the audience, and we never give the movie a thesis statement, hopefully there's a sense that once that monologue has come into play and set the movie on its course, the movie completes the ideas represented in there." In what could easily have become the defining thesis of the film, Lowry presents a more realistic exploration of ideas that intentionally feels unsatisfactory. The film pitches this perspective of living each day like it's your last, yet by the end, you feel that maybe there's more to life than just that. Resuming the ghost's disassociative journey through time, C comes to a few final stops. Each juncture acts as a reminder of the vastness of time and how little influence we have over it. His home with all its history is bulldozed to the ground, taking the note with it in the rubble. Despair and agony drives him centuries forward. In the dystopian city where a quaint home once sat, unrelenting innovation dwarfs the presence of humanity, let alone one individual soul floating through time. An overwhelming wave of insignificance and despair falls over C, pushing him over the edge. When he wakes up, he's surrounded by the land that will one day become his home, far in the past. It's peaceful, natural, and unadulterated. C observes a family of settlers set up camp and watches them all get killed. Despite the juxtaposition of the city to the untouched land, the cycle of life and death remains. Whether it be an unfamiliar future or the austere past, time treats every person the same. The same questions asked, the same pain felt, the same battles fought. A man can erect the tallest skyscraper in the world or gain all the riches one can fathom, yet he will ponder the very same ideas that a poor settler hundreds of years ago did. What is my purpose? Why does any of this matter? Will I be forgotten? After time has taken C on this trip through the ages, the ghost finds himself back home, observing a time when he and his wife were still together. Catching up to the note once again, C doesn't let the opportunity escape him this time. The elaborate procession of time has increased the anticipation, reminding him what it is he's still here for. He pries his wife's note from the molding and opens it. Poof, he's gone. A lot of people will be disappointed that we never find out what the note said. Not even the director or any other members of the cast know what it said.
Rooney knows. I don't know. She says she doesn't remember what it says, but I wanted it to be a private thing for her.
The fact is, it doesn't matter. The note is almost like C's ticket to freedom. Back in the hospital, he chose to return home even when he had the opportunity to let go and move on to the afterlife. Now, he's trapped haunting his old home, stuck as an invisible observer, incapable of being with his wife once again. In this spiritual state, the note is the final thing C is holding on to. His wife has moved on, his home will be destroyed, the note is it. Reading those few words inked onto a torn piece of scrap paper is what it finally took to let go. The universal slideshow can stop, and his soul can rest. The ghost's journey is really a summation of life itself, with all its struggles and joys. There's no correct answer provided along this path. It's a presentation of man's ideas and the unchanging truths of life. It's for the viewer to determine where their beliefs lie. It's kind of like those old Viewmaster toys where you would flip through one small picture at a time. The ghost, along with the viewer, is flipped into these foreign moments and observes what's before him. Different people will inevitably find meaning in different pieces of the picture. Life inevitably requires you to answer its questions. We all place our value and find our worth in something. For C, it was his wife and his home. C wasn't able to let go of those memories and emotions until time had run its course and showed him everything it needed to. In this way, time really feels like a character in itself. The way it pulls C out at the exact moments it does and lays out new experiences of life before him. It's almost like there are things the ghost had to understand and see before he could be unshackled. Throughout the film, the ghost is shot in a way that frames him and boxes him in. Whether it be through windows or entryways, the ghost is visually separated from the events of the real world. Looking from outside the home to the ghost in the window creates a feeling of entrapment, as if he's chained to the home itself. The truth is, he holds the key to those chains. He was the one who decided to return home, and his confinement is self-inflicted. Because of his inability to let go of his wife and his home, he's stuck. He can't let go of the memories. Additionally, framing within the home itself establishes the invisible barrier between the real world and the ghost. In doorways and entryways, the ghost is on one side and the people are on the other. This creates a subtle visual buffer that detaches the ghost from the material world. Another technical choice that creates a window of sorts is the 1:3:3 aspect ratio with its rounded corners. Boxing the entirety of the film in this frame echoes the confinement that the ghost experiences. Instead of a camera looking at the ghost through the window, the audience peers through this hole in the darkness to observe the film. In addition to mirroring the ghost's claustrophobia, the aspect ratio creates a sense of sentimentality and nostalgia. It's as if we're viewing a film stuck in the wrong time, presented like a film from a different era. I briefly want to talk about the ghost in the other house. This second bedsheet ghost is waiting for someone to come back, but it's been so long that they can't remember who they're waiting for. The conversation is little more than blank stares exchanged across a property line. Yet, with the subtitles and the score, the viewer can project emotion onto the blank sheet, finding sadness or anger or despair in the shadows of the folds. To me, this is one of the best scenes in the film. I love the imagery of both ghosts framed in the windows of their homes, looking out to the other, trapped in the confines of their individual history. There's such a strong feeling of loneliness and desperation that's conveyed. The way the other ghost subtly breaks eye contact, lowering its gaze to the ground as it realizes it can't remember the most important thing of its existence. This interaction is a warning of what will happen to C if he sticks around, characterizing him as young and naive in comparison. The other ghost used to have a purpose, but somewhere along the way, it was lost. Now it exists solely for the fleeting moment of once knowing someone and promising that it would wait. There was no note left to find, nothing to chase or achieve, so there in the window it subsists. But then the bulldozers destroy the final remnant of that past relationship, the home. And the ghost gave up. Off to an afterlife, perhaps, but much like the contents of M's note, it's better left unknown.
I love the way things change over the course of time, and history is a part of that. Whether it's the history of, a single day or of a millennia, like the history of something is the chronicle of one place or person or time across time. And of course, humans have a very finite amount of time, and our place in history as individuals is very small. But I love the idea of potentially transcending that and getting to exist beyond that.
In a more symbolic sense, the ghosts represent the emotional burdens that we carry around in our day-to-day lives. These memories and feelings haunt us, weighing us down and keeping us stuck in place. It takes time to learn how to let go and move on, but it's an essential part of life. There are many ways that people choose to do this, and in my experience, the most effective path is to cast my burdens on the one who promises to sustain me and give me rest. More than anything, David Lowery's movies serve the purpose of making the audience feel something. In a ghost story, Lowery makes you feel the palpable presence of time, bringing its passing to the forefront of your mind. The pie scene is the most noticeable example of this. Sitting there, watching someone force-feed themselves for 8 minutes straight to drown out the pain, you feel the discomfort and the unnatural duration.
When you're sitting there for that long looking at one thing, and even if that thing is changing, there's a lot going on in that shot. Rooney's doing a lot as an actress, but nonetheless, we aren't used to seeing something for such a sustained length of time, and it starts to feel repetitive or redundant, and you wonder why you're watching this, and yet it keeps going on, and it keeps going on, and eventually it breaks you down. Hopefully. Either it breaks you down or you leave the movie, but it breaks you down and you start to understand time in a different way. And in a way, those scenes are teaching the audience how to watch the movie.
Departing from film convention to focus on the art itself is where the most meaning and emotion is created. It's a film with a plot and characters, and it asks provocative questions, but at the end of the day, the biggest question Lowry wants to ask is, what did it make you feel?